We're back.
We are back. Angle that like that right there. Yeah, there it is.
All right.
Oh, okay. Yep. It's Gucci. Didn't Gucci Mane have a song like that? It's Gucci Time. That song was a banger for a minute. The Gucci Time song. You remember that?
No.
You don't remember the Gucci? It's Gucci Time. You don't remember that song?
No. I know it's
a
Gucci.
banger.
I wasn't a big Gucci
Yeah.
fan. All right, let's get it started. All right, what's up, everybody? It's A-Flex.
What up? What up, DJ Q?
Yeah. All right, so who we are, a couple of St. Louis DJs, just, good friends, known each other for a long, long time. And, we get on the phone, talk about DJ stuff all the time. And we thought some of these conversations were, I don't know, good enough to be a podcast or whatever. So we were like, all right, screw it. Let's go ahead and record a podcast. I actually had a podcast, I don't know, like years ago, 2015 or something like that, and only did a few episodes, but it was fun, it was cool, so I already had all this stuff, and we just said, let's throw it together and do a little something. So.
Yep. Just like we talk about Gucci Time, Go Time.
Yeah, it's Go Time. Yeah.
Right.
So, one of the things that we talk about a lot is creating content. We talk about, how to stay relevant as a DJ, what's going on, like dealing with clubs and managers and promoters and like all the different, like the politics of DJing. And we agree on a lot. We disagree on, some stuff. And then, we had these conversations and just hash it out. So you brought up something a few minutes ago about, so you made a post on Facebook.
Yeah.
What was the Facebook post?
So the Facebook post said, it was just not disclaimer, like a PSA to DJs, stop DJing places for $200 that you need to bring speakers for. That was the post. Because another DJ and I ran into a situation where, we approached a venue about doing a night. And they're like, the other DJ, comes in and plays for X amount of dollars, which was less than $200. And, but they bring their speakers. And we were like, well, we don't do that. So, that's what the post was about, man. It was just, trying to, and those conversations happen all the time about money, in the DJ world. Like, I feel like everybody across the planet is talking about like how much DJs get paid, or DJs are talking about how much DJs get paid. And it's always an issue because there's always the undercutters, there's always the bar that doesn't want to pay, there's always this, that, and the third. But, that'll never go away. But at the same time, it's like, man, just don't do more than you have to.
One of the things about that if you're not deep into DJing and don't know, what all this costs and how all this works, and probably like 2000 DJs were making like $300. Yeah. And with inflation, if a car is double what a car cost in 2000, if a $20,000 car is $40,000, how come $200 DJs aren't making $400 or whatever? I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it seems like it worked the other way, where now DJs are making less than they were making. And I'm just gonna say, like, I remember back in the day DJing for $200, but today, and
2024 times, that doesn't compute.
That's tough, especially and one of the things that you talked about bringing speakers and whatever, you got to bring speaker stands. There's more setup, there's more wiring, because you got to find power. There's a lot more that goes into when you're doing setting up the PA. So so that's one thing that we can kind of diagnose or whatever what happened there. But another thing is I guess there's like an influx of new DJs that don't really have somebody schooling them and saying, hey man, if you do it that way, you're kind of messing things up for everybody. And if we just all work together, the way that unions do and stuff like that, I'm not saying we should unionize, but like if we all work together, we can push that price up and DJs can make what we should be making 20 years after the prices were what they are now.
I do think it's a complicated and a complex situation for new DJs, right? It is, because new DJs, they definitely want to get a gig, and it's understandable, right? Like, you want to play out. You bought the equipment, you spend time practicing, and you want to play out, and you want to get your shine, and you want to get your career off the ground. What I would say for new DJs, there's a couple of things, right? Depending on where you want to DJ at. Like, if you're a new DJ and you're like wanting to DJ at a place that you know a veteran DJ is playing at, like, don't approach that place for less money just so you can be there. Like, that's foul, right? Because that really messes up the game. Now, if you're a new DJ and you want a gig, my advice is, like, go off the beaten path and find a place that no one else is gigging at. You know what I mean? Like, find your own lane, your own avenue over there. Now, if you're going to go somewhere that's like, even in a district, like in St. Louis, we got Spruce Street, or we got, Ballpark Village or whatever. If you're going to go play in that playground, then you need to ask some questions.
You talked about the messing up the game, and I'm sorry for cutting you off for a second, but you talked about messing up the game, but also you're messing up your own situation, because if you go into a place where, say, there's a veteran DJ that's being paid what he should be getting paid, and you come in and say, oh, well, I'll do it for half, that DJ is never going to mess with you again.
Right.
Like, that's somebody that could potentially hook you up with gigs and line you up with stuff for years. And that guy's probably got a whole crew of people that he's going to tell them and say, hey, this new dude over here is just...
Yeah, don't mess with him. Right.
Yeah, don't mess with him. He's undercutting everybody. And I've seen that happen so many times. And that's where, there are DJs that are like, how come I can't get any gigs? And I see them on, like, DJ forums and stuff, like, begging for gigs and stuff. No disrespect to anybody that's got a night off and it's like, hey, any openings? But, like, there's, the usual suspects of, like, I can't get a gig. Well, I wonder why.
Right.
So,
yeah, if you want to play in that playground where, you see some veteran DJs at, my advice would be is to go talk to that DJ. Like, hey, man, I want to play here. What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? And what do I need to talk to them about? Because if you go in over their head, behind their back or whatever, and it's not that DJ really runs anything, but again, we're talking about, like, it's talking about the politics of the game, right? If you go in there and you're like, you go talk to management or the promoter and be like, hey, man, I'll do it for less. Put me on. And maybe that's not even the conversation, right? Like, it's maybe not as divisive as that. But if you do that, and let's just say it does work out for you, but down the road, what happens? Because that veteran DJ that you may have got in over, he's going to go down the street or across the street or on the other side of town. And guess what? He's going to be at another hotspot, and then you're going to be like, hey, I want to be over there, or I want to be over here. Like, that this way of doing business is just going to run its course so quickly. But if you were to, like, approach that DJ and be like, hey, man, or whoever, I want to play here, what I need to do, then things might work out better for you. You might even make more money. You know what I mean? Like, in the long run. And then you create an ally.
Right.
So,
yeah. So, let's go ahead and, so we talked, like, off camera and off the air about, I don't know, can we say names?
Man, that's up to you, bro.
Let's do it. All right. So, somebody, well, I don't know, but you said a girl kind of spoke up about, she tried to justify what she was doing, and then D Mega was like, yo, you're the problem. And I think that's one of the things that doesn't really happen enough, in my opinion, is, like, people don't get called on their shit enough.
Yeah.
And it, if I'm foul, call me on it, and there's got to be some kind of accountability. Somebody has to speak up and go, hey, man, what you're doing is wrong. And I think that also kind of ties into, is there some responsibility of, like, I don't know, the older, more experienced veteran DJs, if you will, to grab, mentor, whatever, some of these newer DJs that don't really know the way, and they're kind of stumbling around like a bull in a china shop, messing everything up. Charlie Chan grabbed me and said, hey, man, he didn't grab me. Pause. So, but he took me under his wing and was like, "Hey, let me show you the ways." Like, I already kind of knew how to DJ. A lot of people think that I learned from him. It's not really like the skills. Like, I didn't learn how to scratch from him, even though I stole a couple scratches from him. It was more so like, hey, this is how you conduct yourself. This is how you do business. This is how you stay in the game long term. And
Right.
you know, I don't know. As this podcast goes on, I'll give you some of those little gems that he
Right, give you those
imparted
nuggets.
me. But I think that, yeah. So that there's the thing. Like, people are not getting called out, and also there's nobody really showing people the way. So that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was worth bringing up in the
So,
podcast today.
so yeah, like yeah, we can dig into it because I think what happened was with this particular person, she made a post on the post talking about how she's doing a night, bringing in excess equipment and getting paid, the $200, right? So, good friend, homie of ours, DJ for a long time, D Mega, post that she was the problem or part of the problem, and I think that situation is twofold, right? I think that there's definitely some responsibility for everyone out there, whether it's new DJs or veteran DJs, to call people on their shit. But there's also a responsibility for somebody that is doing that, what she is doing, to understand that like that's not the expectation for everyone. And I think that with her situation, it was unique because she has this long-standing relationship with this place. They came to an agreement on the side that like she was going to help them out, start this night, and XYZ. And that's all fine and dandy. There are like some exceptions to the rule. But what I think that definitely needs to happen ultimately is like, okay, this is me doing a favor for you. Don't think that like, if I leave or if she leaves that situation, that the next person that comes in is going to do it for the same situation. But I think that that's what needs to happen. This is like between
Yeah,
us,
the
right?
club owners or promoters or whatever, they get kind of spoiled and thinking, well, this is the
Yeah.
cost because somebody
Right.
came along and was like, hey, I'm going to do you a favor because
Right.
we're tight. So I don't know, man. Like, as we're talking about this and I'm thinking about the $200 thing, like a couple things are popping in my mind. One is $200 is, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's a fairly it's not like you're getting paid $50 and, a bar tab or something like that. $200 is, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday night, it's an off night, or it's at a venue that's just not doing numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I've walked into bars before where there's like 6 people in there and they might make $200, $400 that night.
Right.
And so, and that's not all profit. That's just what was spent, So
Right.
after covering, everything, keeping the lights on and staff and all of that, like, so I there is a part of me that understands that, like, hey, like, if a bar doesn't have it to pay, but in that situation, should they be having
Right.
live entertainment? Or should there be another situation where you pay to get in and you work out a deal with the DJ, like they're a promoter and they're getting a percentage of the door or sales or something like that. So maybe there's some other workarounds that can be examined. So, but
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
speaker, like doing the whole setup,
Yeah, that's a lot.
doing a whole night, the whole thing, it's tough. I
Yeah.
feel like we said before, it's stepping back. It's
Yeah.
$200 in 2024 money versus 1998 money or whatever. Like, it's not the same.
Right. Yeah. And that's the inflation piece is huge. And to go back to what you said, like making $200 on a Wednesday night as a DJ, that's not a bad deal, right? Like it's not really the $200. It's the I'm bringing $5,000 worth of equipment for $200. That's
Yeah.
the issue, right? When you're bringing speakers and mics and your controller and lights, and if you're bringing all that, like you're bringing in a whole rig for $200, like that's a problem because now you're just out doing your own cost of your equipment, right? Like you can't make that back. You know, it's going to take you forever to make that money back. So, but if it's like a situation where, like you said, small bar, not doing a whole lot of numbers, maybe they, you know, they're trying to create something. There could be an agreement where, like, right now we can pay 200. My thing, what I would do in that situation, if I was her, I would approach them like, hey, I get it, but can you budget in trying to get sound system? And it doesn't have to be like, you know, we don't need a full nightclub sound system. You know what I mean? Like, powered speakers now are fairly inexpensive. It's definitely a tax write-off for them because they own a business. I would approach them about doing that. So then that way the onus isn't so much on her and her equipment or him, whoever's doing this. And then they can come make their $200, but they don't have to invest all of their equipment and their time and effort. Because you think, like, you know, to push these even further, another buddy of ours, Boogie B, posted on the thread as well about a gig. And he's kind of created a scenario. I don't know if it's a real scenario or not, but his scenario was, hey, there's a gig. I forget the exact word.
It was like at a church or something like that.
Parking lot,
yeah.
2 hours. So as he said, the gig is 2 hours. You got to bring speakers, and it pays $350. And my thing about that is, like, that's not a 2 hour gig. That's really a 4 hour gig, because you got to think about, okay, where is this place from where I live, from where I got to go? So I had to factor that in. I got to get there. I got to set it up. I got to do the gig. I got to break it down. I got to go home, right? So this isn't like, you know, and I explain this to people when people, you know, approach me about doing their events. Well, I only need a DJ for an hour. I'm like, no, you need a DJ for 3 hours. You need 3 hours of my time, not 1 hour of my time. My time doesn't start when your event starts. My time starts when I leave the house, right?
Well, another thing to add on to that is, you know, why does a church have $350, but a place that sells liquor all night only has 200? You know, that doesn't add up to me. And I think there is a certain amount of, like, club managers and promoters and stuff like that they talk amongst themselves the same way the DJs talk amongst themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're like, hey, we got to keep these numbers down. We can't, you know, the rate is this on this in this area or whatever. And, you know, I think that's a little crazy that they can work together and, you know, to their benefit, but we can't work together for our benefit.
I think, yeah, like what you're saying, like, you know, because, you know, one of the points that our buddy D Mega was saying is, you know, this is a business. And in business, like, it's all about the numbers, right? That's what matters. So, like, you know, when you talk to a bar, like you kind of alluded to this earlier, like, you know, there's costs that they have too, right? They have a staff, they have utilities, they gotta, you know, buy their liquor, they got things they gotta pay for too. So there is a bottom line, you know, overhead that they have to think about. And, you know, as a DJ, and I've had this conversation with other DJs as well, just coming up, you know, I think that, like, especially if this is like a running thing, like this is a reoccurring thing, like if this is a weekly gig, thinking about booking your gig so it makes sense, or you know, the money makes sense for both parties, right? Because on the other side of the spectrum, there's DJs out there that will say, oh man, I need 500 to do this bar. And the bar, like you said, only holds maybe like a couple hundred people. The bar ring might be $1,000 for the night. You know what I mean? So it's like, but you just tax them 500. So what usually happens is, as soon as you know, they start looking at the numbers, they're like, where's our money going? You know, we're making this, but at the end of the day, this is all we're netting because our money is going here, 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 and here. And when they start looking at that and they're paying the DJ out, or anybody, like maybe they're overpaying security, or they're overpaying this person or overpaying that person.
Overpaying the headlining DJs, right, that they're, you know, are coming in and working for $5,000, but then treating your resident DJ like a punk.
Right. Yeah. All that. Right. I think that's another big reason why, you know, you don't see a lot of quote unquote headliner DJs come through cities like St. Louis, right? Like, as much, because it's like, why are we paying? We only made this, you know, but we're going to pay out that. It's got to make sense, right? And as a business owner for a business, as a bar, or even as us as DJs, owning a business, you have to do things that make sense. I always looked at it like, okay, if this is a recurring thing, I want it to last. I would, to be honest with you, I would rather make $200 every Wednesday night for 5 years instead of making $500 on a Wednesday night for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy about this Sunday, and basically one of the things, like, in my career, I've always had super long residencies. I've been at Tin Roof for, I don't know what it's been, 6 years, something like that, since they opened. I was at Q for, I don't know, 6 years. I was at Buka for a couple of years, 1014 for a couple of years, Velvet for a while. Like, I don't know, there's a bunch of other places, but that's one of the things is when I'm DJing, I'm thinking about big picture. I'm thinking about what's in the best interest of the venue. I want to get the callback. I want repeat business. I want to keep getting those checks every week. What do I have to do? And I think sometimes, I know we're kind of pivoting a little bit here, but like DJs will see that, playing Sheck West or something like that, they see a bunch of activity in the crowd, everybody's throwing their hands up, there's like a little mosh pit forming or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to pile onto that vibe and play more, Sheck West type joints that are going to get people super hyped up. But then all of a sudden, you've got a totally different vibe and energy in your venue. And I think that is, kind of this crazy thing too, where there's a couple things there. First of all, you got to think about, okay, am I going to be playing here next week? And what's the crowd going to be like next week? If I'm invested in that club because I know that I've been there for a while, I'm going to be there for a while, I'm not going to turn that club into something other than what the owners and management want it to be. I'm going to stick to the format of, hey, you guys want me to do open format, if you want me to do hip hop, if you want me to do R&B, if you want me to do house, whatever. I can do whatever. I'm not going to come in and a lot of DJs, especially like guest DJs that are just coming in to do for an hour, it's all about them for an hour. They don't have to come back next week. Right. They can do whatever and get crazy. And
I think that's the headliner mentality, right? Like that's the like you said, I'm the show. I'm just gonna go do this thing for whatever, and I'm out. I totally agree. But
then they're bouncing around. They're not holding down residencies for years at a time.
I think that just to piggyback on that the DJ got too popular.
Are you saying that man, okay, you go ahead, but I've got something I want I want to say that it might be a little controversial, but it needs to be said.
I think the DJ got too popular because now all these people want to be DJs, and that's the motivation is to be popular, right? Like it's not about, this goes back to what we talked about last time. It's not about being like good at being a DJ. It's just about being popular, and that's all they're really worried about is the popularity of it. Not
who? The promoters? The club owners? The managers?
The DJs. They
come the DJs just want to be popular.
Yeah, the DJs that are coming in, like, kind of doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, where they're jumping on for an hour, they want the spotlight, and they're just going to go in whatever direction they want to go. And it has, maybe it's the opposite direction of, what the venue had in mind, like whatever it is the promoter's trying to do, what the DJs curated over the past, multiple years they've done this day or this night. And here you come like, all right, I'm going to, go all the way left because, they're there. I think that it's a popularity problem for these DJs that just want to be popular and not be good, because I feel like they think that if they do like what you're doing or kind of follow, not the rules, but like follow the lane that you're kind of pushing them to, they don't feel like they can separate themselves, like it's my show now type of deal.
Yeah. And you think about like probably just, I don't know, I'm just thinking about like in the nightclub industry, there's a lot of egos.
Yeah.
And as you could say whoever the promoter or the management or whoever, they're seeing this DJ get all this love, all this attention, making all this money, probably making more money than them, and the girls all want to talk to the DJ and whatever. They're, I'm not saying that I'm not saying they're not making money and getting girls, the management, whatever. But there might be a certain amount of like holding them back or keeping them in their place and not letting them grow past a certain point, not letting them negotiate higher rates, not letting them get a percentage, and I think that we've seen a little bit of that recently. I don't want to call out places and names, but if you're in St. Louis and you're a DJ, you've probably heard, the rumors and stuff like that of DJs that definitely deserve to make more money, that made places, put them on the map, and, were running it for years, ask for a little bit more money or something like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're going to let you go and let these, let somebody come in that's going to do it for a fraction of what you would charge. There's no, there's no loyalty there. There's no, so yeah, I don't know, that kind of frustrates me. And it's, I would love to get back to, and I know, I'm a little bit older now and I got the day job and all that kind of stuff going on, but there's like part of me that wants to go back and see like, man, how far can I take this? Can I blow up in my own city? I feel like St. Louis, even though we have some of the greatest DJs in the country, I feel like it's really hard to blow up because there are just so many obstacles and it seems so difficult to get the support that you need to get to the next level. Yeah, there are outliers, but
I think that this is like beyond St. Louis, man. I think this is going on everywhere.
Sure.
I think it's nationwide. I think that like, again, like, you could, this goes across different industries as well. And I think it goes back to the popularity thing. Like everybody just wants to be popular and they will do it by any means necessary. And popularity tends to win.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the music, like the hip hop music, the rap music, like it's not the best rappers that are like holding down the fort. It's the most popular rappers, right? Like it's the most popular DJs that are getting the gigs, not the best DJs that are getting the gigs.
And I wonder sometimes, like, are these songs popular? Are these DJs popular because that's the algorithm that's pushed on you? Like if you did the Pepsi challenge and we're like, okay, what rapper is better? Like this, mumble rapper over here that's like got, super high up on the charts because they're on all the Spotify playlists. Or, if you compare them to like a Joyner Lucas, and you're going to tell me you're going to listen to those two things side by side and be like, oh no, I'm going to take, mumble rapper.
Right.
And it's the same thing with DJing. Like I think that there's some DJs that like are kind of pushed as like, this is the next great DJ out of the city or whatever. But when you do the Pepsi challenge or whatever, you do the blindfold test and you listen to them or, and watch their skill level, they're not.
Here's how you know like a DJ's a good DJ.
Dope.
You have to take them out of their own element. Okay, so, if we're speaking about St. Louis, like if you're the, best DJ in St. Louis because you're popular, how we know if you're good or not is to take you out of St. Louis and plant you into another city where no one knows you.
Yeah.
And then see how you do.
Right.
That is the way that you find out, if you're worth the salt, right? In my opinion, because everybody can, everybody does well in their own backyard. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the king of your castle, right? Like, if you go, again, like, to another city or go to somebody else's house, how well are you going to do? Because you don't have all your friends there to support you, right? You don't have all your homies, all your college friends, all your family, and everybody's not cheering for you. They don't know you. They don't care who you are because you're not one of them. But you have to like, by the end of the night, you'll know if you did well because they'll embrace you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and it doesn't even really matter, like, if it's hip hop, if it's pop, EDM. In my opinion, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if we take you to Kansas City, Chicago, Indianapolis, wherever, just stay in the Midwest. Man, they don't know you out there. So when you show up, they're looking at you. Who's this guy? Who's this girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't the homie that was here last night. That's from here that we rock with.
But at the same time, like like there's a certain amount of that's just the way that it is. Like I know that we're a couple geezers that are like griping about that. That's just the way it is. It's Snapchat, it's
social media
Instagram, it's they're everybody's got a really short attention span. They're very visual. They want the spectacle of it. They want to get they want to be photographed in the club where there's a bunch of people, good looking, well dressed, the whole nine. And I understand that. That's good. Like I'm not trying to fight against that. Like I totally understand that. And I think at one point in time, like I was part of that. But I think all these things, all these factors basically come together and point to, I think that without some control over the situation, without some conversations, without some communication about what's going on and people working together and putting ideas out there, it's going to get worse. Because we've not kept up the house, and now it's in disarray, and everybody's going, well, how'd it get like this? And it's like, well, man, I've been a part of it for a long time, and I have to take some fault in letting it get the way that it has, because there's a number of things that could have been done that I didn't do. But let me tell you what I did do. I put out mixtapes. Yep. And I tried to have as many guest DJs on those mixtapes as I could. The Kitchen Scratch Sessions, which they were on SoundCloud and all got taken down for copyright like years ago. But there's a couple of them still out there. Yeah. What else did I do? My Sunday Fun Days that I was doing, Spin Roof at Tin Roof. And I had guest DJs constantly. I was bringing new DJs, veteran DJs. So much of my career, and there's other things that I've done. I've helped up, I've done things, and that's what it takes. But I know I could have and should have done more. But if we all do things like that, be like A-Flex. No, I'm kidding. No, but if we all do things like that and we all kind of work together for the betterment, and I know you want to say something, but let me just say,
finish
because you mentioned Boogie B earlier. And Boogie B, me and that dude, we go way, way, way back, like 20 years, something like that. I've known that dude forever, since we were kids. And he moved down to the lake, and then he moved out to Kansas City. And he's been telling me what it's like being a DJ in Kansas City. He's got a whole, KC Event Company started with Brandon High Noon out there. And the way that they work together and the way that they all make sure that everybody eats by sharing gigs. If somebody's off, it's like, hey, come to my gig, come DJ with me. The way that they work together really, I think, should be the blueprint for what we do here in St. Louis. And I think there's little pods, like Chris Brown and his crew, and Franco and his crew. And there's a number of different little, it's happening in small little cliques or pods, whatever you want to call it. But there needs to be more of that. It needs to be bigger scale, because the family mentality of if I don't take advantage of every single little thing and is got to go. If you're patient, everybody can eat and everybody can eat well, but it's that mentality of if I don't take this $100 gig or whatever it is, it's like sometimes you just got to let them go. Or talk to your friends and be like, man, like, hey, I'm not going to take this. Nobody else take this either. Like, that person, they should, or whatever, they should be paying more. They should be doing more. They're not really supporting the DJ, right, the DJ community, the whole, thing. They're just trying to take advantage. Yeah. And I think that we can, take charge, take control of that situation.
Yeah, I mean, to go along with your point, I do think that, like, there's some accountability on the other side as well. Like, whether you're new or trying to figure your way out, or like get into this industry, like, you got to take some accountability. And and do the right things, and figure out where you fit in the right way, in a sense. Because just being popular, you've seen it over the time. Like you say, like we're some geezers. We've been around the block many times and seen a lot of DJs come and go, and we just keep chugging along because there's always going to be this thing where there's going to be new DJs that pop up that want to get on because they think it's a cool thing, but they fade away every year. We talk about like in classes, there's a new class of DJs that come out and, they're popping for a minute. And then all of a sudden, like, what happened to so-and-so? I ain't seen him posting nothing in a minute. And
Well, so that brings up a good point. Like, just like the music these days, it's almost like just they're making disposable music.
yeah,
They're making disposable DJs.
yeah. I mean, then that's what you do when you don't like take accountability into to taking this thing seriously and be like, oh man, I'm cute or I'm popular and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a DJ till it's time to
To
do some DJ shit.
right.
Carry the speakers, carry
Or when it's like, your hype fades away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I talk about the college DJ all the time. The college DJ is always popping when they're in college because they got a bunch of college friends. But what happens when you graduate and you're still a DJ and all your friends graduate and they go get jobs and they have kids and they get married and they do this and they do that? Now you're called, hey, I'm so and so. Oh no, man, I'm we got the baby, or oh man, I got to work tomorrow. All your friends start to fade off, and then all of a sudden, like after college, like you're not, when you're in college, all your college friends came out, and now it's like, no, we graduated. No, I don't know, man.
And let's just also like throw a little disclaimer in there. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, I was a college DJ and I'm still popping, this doesn't apply to you. Okay, this what we're saying here when we're saying new DJs and stuff like that, like we know that there are DJs, newer DJs that are going to stick with it. We know that there's guys that DJ'd in college that later on like blew up. Like
they got
that's
better,
not that's not
those are the guys,
the situation.
and girls that took accountability,
Yeah,
and wanted to be like, hey, I can, this is something for real, and they looked around and they saw the veterans. In whatever city you're in, it doesn't have to be St. Louis, like whatever city you're in, they looked around, they saw the veterans, they're like, hey, man, so-and-so is doing really good for themselves life-wise, and they just DJ.
Yeah.
Man, I could really do this, and it's a thing that could be done, so, but you have to take accountability and take it serious and not just be, I'm just popping right now. And it kind of goes back to like what you were talking about, like with the venues and understanding like what's happening with the venue. Like, okay, like are you having conversations with the venue? Like, okay, the venue opens, or they're like, hey, we want to do, this night and we want it to be chill. It's vibey, it's loungy. We're not trying to be, this raging party. Can you go DJ that venue and stay in the lane of what the venue wants and entertain the people that are there?
yeah. And if you can't, let it go. You don't have to, like, again, you don't have to take every gig. If
Yeah.
it's a lounge gig and you don't play lounge music, now the exception to that is, let's say you got 2 weeks. And you've got Beat Source or something like that. You
Yeah.
could put something together in 2 weeks and do it like a solid set or Latin or whatever it might be. So go
Right.
ahead and take those, because the technology, which I do want to talk a little bit about tech, because we talked about that a little bit earlier too. It allows for you to pivot like that, where back in the day, if you were a hip hop DJ, you probably were not also a house music DJ,
Right,
or vice versa.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about disposable music. We're talking about disposable DJs.
Right, yeah. Just flush them in the toilet.
What about disposable equipment these days? It seems like years ago, you bought techs, you could buy a Pioneer mixer, Rain mixer, Vestax mixer, and that was going to hold you for years. And now, every year, there's a new line of Pioneer stuff. There's new Rain stuff, and all these other companies. And
I think
do
that's
you?
the culture of technology, though? Like,
Sure.
look at the iPhone.
Yeah, it rapidly increases. But do you do the Nick Styles and Dan Carthen and go buy the new hotness as it drops, and you're kind of like a equipment hype beast where?
Me personally, no. Yeah.
So how do you know when to what equipment to buy and when? Especially, like just break it down for newer DJs, because man, imagine wading into the equipment
the rabbit
buying
hole.
decision process, rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. Like, you're going to be lost. You're going to have no idea what to do. You almost can't go wrong these days. There's so much good stuff out there, but
Yeah.
even the decision of Rev 7 versus Rain or whatever, like, what does your decision making process look like?
So for me, and it's funny you bring that up because homie Eric Patrico hit me with a question on Facebook, just asking my opinion about what I thought about some equipment. And for me, like, it's gonna start with money. You know what I mean? Like, okay, what do you want to spend? I think that's what you start. What's your budget?
All right, let me just hit on budget real quick.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you, if you are serious about DJing, bet the house.
Yeah,
Spend it all. Now, I know you feel, look, again, we're going to disagree on this.
Yeah, because
but
there's
I've
a lot of
made
factors.
every dime back that I've ever spent on DJ equipment.
Yeah, you could look at it like that, but then everybody's in their own situation, right? Like me versus you. Like, I have a kid, you don't, right? So like, there's other
Recently,
things.
your kid's like 2.
Yeah, but you have a 2-year-old and see how expensive.
But prior to that, you still were thrifty, or not thrifty, but you made
definitely
wise
like,
decisions.
You're budget conscious, but I still think it comes down to that, right? Like, it definitely comes down to budget, and it depends on where you are. Like, you bring up like new DJs, right? Like, and then it comes down to like, what are you trying to accomplish? What kind of DJ are you? What are you trying to accomplish with the equipment that you're trying to get? Let's just say you are a straight up EDM style DJ, right? That's what you do. Should you buy turntables? No. Why would you?
How dare you?
You know
How
what I mean?
dare you?
Why would you? You know what I'm saying?
I do not endorse that
That's
statement
real talk,
at
real
all.
talk. And the funny thing is like, this is coming from like, I'm a old battle DJ, turntable DJ, but like, if you are a straight up EDM style and you want to play festivals and the thing is, but what you got to understand is those DJs, just to dive into this piece real quick, those DJs, and I put it in quote DJs, like, that's not your sauce. DJing isn't your sauce if you're trying to be in the EDM world. Let's get this like completely clear. Okay. If you look at somebody like a Calvin Harris or someone like that, and you aspire to be that, DJing is not your sauce. Like, that is not your key, your important piece. Production is.
Okay.
You need to you need to get on your Ableton, your Logic, your whatever game, like, and get in front of the computer and create. Like, that's where your sauce is. But let's just say, like, outside of that, nightclub DJ, what we would probably call a hip hop style DJ, open format style DJ. There is a lot of options. You got Denon, you got Rain, you got Pioneer. Then you got, like, you go controller. Do you go, like, mixer and turntables? Do you go mixer and CDJs? Do you, I think it comes down to price because,
buying
budget.
CDJs and, the whole whatever Nexus, I don't even know
Nexus,
what.
it
that's
gets crazy.
6Gs or something like that. You don't need all that. I agree. All right, so I have to kind of like retract my statement before. I didn't say bet. When I said bet the house and spend it all. Like, if you're a new DJ, don't go spend $7,000 on a Pioneer CDJ setup with like all the. First of all, the learning curve on that's going to be insane. Go get you a controller, like a Rev 5 or something like that. Like anything in that like mid tier.
Yeah, you made Rev 5, even all the stuff now, like, it's crazy. All the stuff now kind of does everything, especially if it's like within a couple of years old.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's going to be some nuancy things about the Rev 7 that the Rev 5 doesn't have, the Rev 5 has, that the Rev 7 doesn't have, that the Rain 1 has, that the Rain 4 doesn't.
Yeah. Some of it's going to be the layout of the equipment too. Like I bought the Rev 7 because the mixer on the Rev 7 is like the S9 versus like the Rain 1 where the pads were like in front of the jog wheel, which like, I was, I'm just scared I'm always going to bump it.
Yeah, like the DDJ 1000 SRT, like the pads are below the jogs where like the, Rev 7, Rev 5, S9, S11, Rain 72, Rain 70 all have the pads in the middle of the mixer section.
Yeah, where they're nice and safely out of the way,
that's all preference.
Where you won't accidentally bump
preference,
them.
Big homie DJ Dex, he had a SRT 1000 SRT, and his next purchase was the Flex 10 because he wanted those pads down there. He didn't want the pads in the middle. So it's all preference too. Like what are you comfortable with? What are you trying to accomplish? What features do you need on board, right? Like, so Eric Patrico hits me with the question on Facebook and was like, hey, what's your opinion about this? Like, should I get I think he might have an S9 now, and he's looking to add another piece so he can have controls to like stems and other features. Or should he just get an S11, which has a lot of those other features on board on the mixer?
You can map stems.
Yeah, so right. So that's his question. Like, should I keep my S9, get a XP2, map all my other stuff to my XP2, and then I have my XP2 with my S9, or should I just get the S11 and then have just one board with all my stuff on it that's more than likely natively mapped? My opinion is go with like the S11 or like a Rain 70 or something,
especially
like
for somebody like him. Like, he's got a job, he's making money, he's been DJing for a long time. He's not a new up and coming DJ. Like, he's
even outside of that, just having less pieces of equipment to do the thing.
Right.
Like that, I look at that, and that's kind of how I responded to him. I was like, well, first it was like, it depends on money. Secondly, I look at it like, okay, I want to have the least amount of pieces to my setup, right? Yeah. I don't want to have like a mixer and then this other piece and then this other piece and other piece.
Potential points of failure.
Right, that, or just, having to map it all. Like, now that like things are natively mapped, like a lot of people love the Rev 7. I got the Rev 5 because it has natively mapped stem controls.
Yeah.
That I don't have to change anything out for it. Like, I like that about that.
That's the one thing about the Rev 7 that's a little
Yeah, you have to.
You got to go back in and map, which is on my to-do list. Everybody
is cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but you're also losing some functionality. There's something that I'm, I forget what it's going to be. Not the looper, but the something. Yeah. So I'm going to give up some functionality in order to MIDI map the controls so that. But it's cool that you can do that. But so my experience, I took the Rev 7 out for the first time Sunday. Mm-hmm. Took it out for a spin. I've had it for a couple of weeks. I've been on turntables my whole life. Never had a controller. Just got a controller. Finally caved. Took it out. Now I was a little uncomfortable.
Some other DJs are caving on the controller too. I just saw on Facebook.
Who was it?
Should we say his name?
Yeah.
Homie DJ Moff. Gonna get him a controller.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Moff? Yeah, hit me up, Moff, if you want to come through and check out the Rev 7. You probably played on one before, but anyhow, so, man, I liked the setup. I liked the breakdown, but DJing on it after being on turntables forever, like, it felt flimsy. I felt like if I'd leaned on it, like something was gonna break after, playing on Tex and Pioneer PLX 1000s with a S9. So, like, I don't know. I'm hoping that over the next couple of weeks, I get used to it. Well, I'm not sure.
Your one Tech probably weighs more than the whole Rev 7, doesn't it?
Well, okay, yeah. But, especially the Pioneers
the
Pioneers weigh like 10 pounds more than the Tex, the Pioneer PLX 1000s. So yeah, there's the weight factor. Also, I got the case that's got the sliding shelf for the laptop.
Yeah.
And that thing's, I don't know, 20 pounds or something. So you
Yeah.
take like a 20-pound controller with a 20-pound case, like, you know. Also, just let's talk about cases for just a second, because I just got stuck with one that I didn't really want.
Oh, you ended up keeping that one?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna keep it.
Is that what you took out with you?
I'll sell it if somebody wants to buy it, but get a case with wheels, people. If you got a big old heavy duty flight case for a controller, like if you have a big giant controller, like let's say a Rev 7 or something like that, go ahead and get something with wheels. Especially if you got the case with the shelf in it, because man, lifting that thing is crazy. Like when you lift something and
SRT 1000 is in a case with wheels.
Yeah. Okay. So
like
that's
that.
your little pro tip for for today.
There's your nugget.
I'm learning some stuff. I'm learning the controller game the hard way, and I probably should.
Let's clarify it a little bit more. Like, so, you know, with cases, there's flight cases that are like hard, right? And that's what we're talking about. You're not gonna find a soft case with wheels like that. You know, let's just be clear.
Sure.
You know,
But there's something in the middle too. There's these cases that are like briefcases. There's no shelf. There's minimal padding, but it's, you know, real thin, and that's for people that are just, you know, in and out of the club, and they're not, you know, they're not traveling significantly with it. You know, they've got a pretty easy setup and stuff like that. I think you can get away with that. Like Deception's got one that's more like a briefcase rather than it being like a flight case. And I think that's where it's not a soft case. It's still a hard case, but it's more like a briefcase than it is, you know, real, you know, kind of low profile or whatever, rather than it being, you know. And I think our in-depth analysis, we've probably lost our whole audience at this point.
Going down a rabbit hole about
cases.
That's what DJ nerds do. Like,
you never know, you know.
Your homie calls you, hey man, I'm thinking about a case. What you think? Like that's when people like think about like DJs and like what we talk about and like what's going on. That's what's going on.
Yeah,
like,
this is the behind the scenes.
Right. Anybody that's listening to this, watching this, is not a DJ is like, man, what do DJs talk about? We talk about cases. like, we have 2-hour phone conversations about cases and what case that we're gonna buy or we're thinking about buying, or which one do you have?
Yeah, you know? Crossfaders, headphones, you know, just everything, you know.
So it happens more often than not, because I've hit the other DJs up like, hey man, which case you got for what controller or whatever, you know. So yeah, definitely happens.
Cool. Hey man, I think, I don't know, we're probably getting kind of close to an hour here. Do you want to wrap this one up? You want to keep going? I'm all good. I'm all good either way. You tell me, what else you got on the agenda over there?
Man, that's it. I mean, the only thing, you know, talk about like the equipment is again, jump back to that, is preference, layout, price, how much stuff do you want to carry to your gig? Kind of to answer Eric's question. And then going back to the money thing, man, I think it's relationship based too. What are you trying to do with this gig that's paying whatever it's paying, you know? So, and again, I think that like knowing your own worth as far as like what you're bringing to the gig, you know what I mean? And your time and your value, definitely you need to think about that. Like bringing speakers and extra things outside of just your controller, because this could go back into like turntables. I think that's another reason why a lot of DJs went the controller route, because it's like, oh, you know, I can get this Wednesday night that might be paying $200, $250. That's chill. It's not a rager. No one's really, you know, making a ton of money in the situation in the bar. I want to go do it. They told me that they can only pay XYZ. But now instead of bringing out, you know, my turntables and my mixer that I paid thousands of dollars for, I got this controller now that I can bring, and it's easy to set up. It's easy to break down, and I can just go and I can make this, you know, $200, $250, and everybody's happy. I ain't got to break my back unloading and loading. I don't have to, you know, pack all these things up. So like think about that as far as your value as well, you know, in what you're doing for your time. You know, just to go back to Boogie B's point, you know, when he's like, oh, it's a 2-hour gig. To me, it's not a 2-hour gig. It's a 4-hour gig because you got to pack up, got to break down. I got to get there. I got to get home. So,
Well, yeah, and just to kind of expand on that a little bit, you know, it's not just 4 hours either. It's the 10, 20 years of experience that you're also bringing.
yeah, that plays into it too. Like, you know, the value, like all of these things, like we talk about, like, you know, maybe setting rules, or people like, one of the homies was like, you know, there needs to be a chart. I mean, there kind of isn't any rules, but keep in mind your own, like, what are you setting for your value for yourself? And again, like, if you are undervaluing yourself, like if that's what you want to do, then for the people on the other side, the owners, the promoters, the managers, understand that that's what that person is doing. That's not what the rest of us do. Right? Like, that is your own, that is one unique situation that you got a good deal, right? Like, that's what it is. You got a good deal. You caught the sale, right? But outside of that, everything ain't on sale every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get the rollback. You know, you got the rollback deal. You ain't gonna get the rollback deal the next time. So that, I think that that's what needs to be understood. I think that, like, with DJs, we all talk amongst ourselves about, like, pay and things like that. The conversations that need to be had, I feel like, are with the people that are paying us. Like, hey, like, why do you want to pay me this? What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, you're going to get me wound up here, but, you know, you can stand your ground with the clubs and just say, hey, that, you know, that's not going to work for me. Mm-hmm. And there's been times recently where venues have, you know, wanted to work with me, and there was an offer on the table, and it was good. It was, it was pretty good, but it didn't work for me. And I know, I guess what the point that I'm trying to get to here is, one, you don't have to take every single gig. Right. You know, you can leave, you know, don't make too many sacrifices that it's going to end up biting you in the ass. And the other thing is, if you're not getting a lot of gigs and you're having to accept, you know, money that you don't really want to accept for a gig, take a look in the mirror. What's going on? Are the skills not there? Are your selections not there? Is there something that you can be doing to elevate your status, your performance, your social media, we'll save that for another podcast of all the different things that you can do to elevate. But that's, I think, an important part of it as well is, how come I'm not getting the money I want to be making? You have to maybe admit to yourself that maybe the rest of the world, or not, I don't want to say the rest of the world, but maybe some of these venues don't see you the same way that you see yourself, or maybe you've not given them enough in the way of, you know, promoting yourself or showing them what you're made of and what your true value is. That's an interesting thing too. Hey, we just need a DJ on Friday night. Like, it doesn't matter who, it pays $200. If I was a venue, there's no way that I would handle it that way. I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm gonna go and find the DJ that I like his sound, or has the ability to adapt, or that we can market and use, and that's going to make something be successful. But they're not taking the time to vet the DJs and do the research. And I'm not trying to just blame them, but it's these kinds of conversations that are going to identify the problems in the, you know, I guess the DJ nightlife business that, I think can be, again, resolved with some communication and some transparency.
100% agree, man. Like, that's what it is. Like, you know, like you said, like, you know, if you're not getting...
Stop agreeing. Dude, we were supposed to argue this whole time, and you're agreeing with me,
like,
man.
I do agree with that. Like, you know, like, these guys and girls are like, man, how come I such and such? The other half of it, too, just to add on to it, is like, if you aren't that person yet, you know, it creates a problem when you go into a venue and you go in, you talk that stuff, and I need XYZ. And they pay you XYZ, and you don't show why they paid you that
Yeah.
money. You know?
Yeah, there's some people that are real dope on social media, but when it's time to show and prove, you put them on
Yeah.
stage, they can't
Yeah,
they
man.
can't hold it down.
That's another whole issue.
So,
we can dive into
less time
this.
on social media, more time practicing your skills.
Yeah,
That's-
have like skills, your library, your all that, your presence, your everything, that all goes into it. I see so many guys when I look at their laptop, like, man, you only got like 500 songs.
Don't judge me.
Like you got a 250 gig hard drive. And that's what you're rolling. But this is like you just don't have the music, you don't have the depth, and now there's no excuse, man. Like you said, the internet's crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a record pool.
We
or
got
two,
BeatSource now.
or BeatSource.
This is not sponsored by BeatSource, but I recently got it, and it's just so dope that somebody can walk up to me and are like, "Hey, do you have, whatever?"
Or
And
just
I can just
curating
type it in.
whatever.
You got to have Wi-Fi, but I can just type it in and load it on a deck. So
Or like venues open like 360 Westport, and they send an email out, "Hey, this is vibey sounds. Like you got to be able to do that,
yeah,
and you got to be able to show up and be ready to do that. And if you can't do that, then guess what? You ain't playing at 360 Westport."
well, let's wrap this thing up, man. You got any gigs coming up?
No, I'm off this weekend, man. I got the kiddo. Actually, no, I take that back. Take that back. Edit. Chicken and Pickle. I'll be at Chicken and Pickle this Saturday.
Chicken it. What's Chicken and Pickle?
The new pickleball place, man, downtown St. Charles.
I don't know anything about Chicken and Pickle.
Popping. Pickleball is popping for whatever reason in the world. It
Yeah.
used to be the old people sport. Now all the young people are playing it, and they built a whole venue for it.
When again is that?
Saturday. Yeah.
What time?
7 to 11.
Okay. Is it like outside?
They got a stage, everything.
Is it Main Street? Where's it at?
Streets of St. Charles.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be dope. And as always, I'm doing my Sundays at Tin Roof Sunday Fun Day. Last Sunday was bonkers. Bonkers. Deception opened up, and I did the second half. Deception had Rico Steez come in, guest DJ, and Charlie Chan came through and played for like an hour during my set as the guest DJ. So you never know who's going to pop in and show out on the Sundays there at Tin Roof in St. Louis, downtown. So yeah, okay, we both got a little something going.
Yeah.
That's
I
what's
almost
up.
forgot about that. Don't tell the world. Don't tell Chicken and Pickle. I almost forgot about it.
No, it's cool. Hey, you remembered. Better late than never,
Yeah,
right?
I did, yeah. It was
All
like
right.
Saturday night at like 7. I'm like, am I supposed to be somewhere?
All right. Well, all right, let's wrap it up. As always, it was a pleasure.
Like
And
MTV, wrap it up. Peace.
all right. Peace.
That's cool. What do you think about that one so far?
Oh, it's terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. Oh, Jesus. Definitely can't put that shit out.
Jeez.